learn through the stories, and you almost forget that this is a book that teaches you because of the law, because you enjoy the story so much. There are 52 short stories within this book, covers a wide range of issues, includes things like disputes between neighbors, which is very important, family, estate matters, and even Singapore's competition law. I'm sure that every one of us here will be able to relate to one story or another, one topic or another. Through this, I hope that readers will be able to better understand the law, whether it's complicated areas, straightforward areas, and one interesting story that I came across is a civil legal dispute between two parties. Some of you know that I used to be a civil dispute lawyer, so it piqued my interest when I saw it, and I also remember this story very well. There was two neighbors. Stories always start like that. Two neighbors. One was an elderly woman. She had an overgrown tree in the garden. Sounds normal enough, right? This tree, as all trees do, grew bigger. Branches grew taller, longer, and the trees shed leaves. Again, quite normal, right? Up to here it's normal. The neighbor then hired a big crane contractor to come and prune the tree. This is where it starts to get a little bit not so normal. One day this lady came back, saw the crane, saw the worker high up pruning the tree, and instead of saying thank you very much, got very upset. And while the worker was still up there pruning the tree high up, this woman went into the crane, switched off the crane, took the key, and went away, and refused to let the other side have the key back. And therefore the worker was stuck up the crane for a while. For I think almost 1.5 hours, if I'm not wrong, if I read the story correctly. This is not just a story, it's a true story. This is actually what happened. And later on, this elderly lady, the neighbor, pleaded guilty to wrongfully confining the worker in the crane bucket and of course also causing danger. And for this and other offences, this lady faced punishment, including a total of 6 weeks of jail. The moral of the story is a few things. Number one, don't be rash. Number two, I think if you take a step back and think about these daily problems between neighbors, oftentimes over small things. It starts off over small things. Tree, overgrown, sometimes you have pets, sometimes parking, car park. I think the story is, can we solve the problem in some other way? And I think there are many examples in Richard's book that helps teach us this as well. In particular, my ministry, both in Min-Law and also MCCY, and I wear both hats, we encourage litigants to try and solve the problem amicably. After all, we are a typical Asian society. We look at neighbors as someone that we have to live with. And indeed, I think if we find a way forward to solve our disputes in an amicable fashion, we can carry on being nice neighbors. So community mediation has proven to be quite successful in what we have done. And in fact, from our statistics, more than 80% of the cases that end up in a community mediation center, they are successfully mediated. Whether down the road there's some other problem or not, maybe we don't always know. But I think it provides a first and very effective first stop for parties who don't agree with each other, who see different viewpoints, to come and use the mediation services. So given this high settlement rate and the very successful experience that CMC has, we are studying whether mediation can be used more widely as a more effective way to resolve disputes. What Richard's book does is to also make the law relatable to the common person in the common scenario, common situation. Laws which are able to be understood make our legal system more usable and more accessible. And it is a very important foundation of our legal system to make our justice accessible. Advancing access to justice, in fact, is at the heart of what we do in government and in particular in my ministry. But what does access to justice actually mean? This is a phrase that we often hear about, but perhaps we not fully understand it. Let me just try and break it down into a few points. Essentially, access to justice means people who need to use the legal system can use the legal system, in very simple terms. The usual way of bridging the gap is to give legal aid, to find pro bono lawyers, to find legal assistance, either low cost or no cost, and to allow them to use the legal services. In Singapore, we provide civil and criminal aid for those who cannot afford their own lawyers. This year, we have done a few things in government to enhance legal services and access to legal services. To provide legal assistance and representation for more needy accused persons, we have just recently announced and set up the Public Defender's Office, the PDO, for those who are in our society who are not able to afford quality legal services. We have set up a system to provide for this on an ongoing basis. That will be cited in the Ministry of Law. We will also expand criminal legal coverage. So we look at the qualifying criteria and we make it slightly easier, in fact I would say quite a bit easier to access. Why? Because if you measure the threshold for means testing based on what we do for ComCare and other social assistance schemes, it's not quite the same. Because oftentimes getting legal help is once off, once in a lifetime, hopefully only once for most people. And when you come across it, it's a serious question. And so we expand the scope so that more people will qualify for such criteria. The government will also hire full-time lawyers to sit in the PDO, the Public Defender's Office. We will, through this system, institutionalize the provision of criminal aid and finally enable more vulnerable persons who can't afford their own legal services and their own lawyers to access this. We just passed a bill for Public Defender's Office earlier this year, and we will set up a PDO by the end of this year. However, the provision of legal aid cannot be the end point, the be-all and end-all of our assistance for needy legal representation. Not all legal issues require legal representation. As such, we've also taken a holistic view to enhance justice in Singapore, and we do this by encouraging alternative dispute resolution as well. We also simplify the framework and accessibility so that people on their own can also use the services, sometimes without the need for lawyers. We work with a rich network of partners, and we are very fortunate to have so many partners come forward and work with government. Some are in the civil service, in the civil society, some are in community, others are institutional within government, as I've explained. Many of these partners, including the Law Society and the CDCs, or Community Development Councils, they help us to raise awareness, provide legal assistance, and very often this is done through the caring hearts of many pro bono individuals who step forward to provide the services. Many of these services have a good name, have a good brand name, but what it actually does is leverage on the goodwill of so many people stepping forward, providing their time, often after office hours in the weekdays or during the weekend, to attend to the needs of indigent citizens. This approach, I feel, enables us to really make a difference when we talk about access to justice. Not just provide legal aid or set up something in a structured way like PDO, but be out there in the community, working with people in the community to access and to provide that access. Today, to take this access to justice one step forward, we will also be witnessing the signing of a memorandum of understanding on the Law Society's Pro Bono Services Community Law Fellowship Program, a bit of a mouthful, or you can call it CLFP. The CLFP is envisioned to provide that last mile community-based legal assistance. As part of the CLFP, community lawyers will provide legal advice and representation to members of the community and work with other agencies to meet both the legal and sometimes also the extra-legal needs. Extra-legal because the law is not just about giving legal advice. It's actually about providing assistance. And if you come across an individual who needs legal assistance, but at the same time you realize that this is a troubled family, vulnerable individuals, then you need to also refer them to social assistance. These lawyers who help with this will reside in community law centers, which will be embedded in all 5 CDC districts. The CLFP is an example of how partnerships between like-minded caring individuals and organizations in society can really make a difference to bridge the gap on the ground and in the heartlands in Singapore. So on that note, I really commend Richard's efforts, his thought process in going into this. It's interesting stories, but there's something behind the stories that help us to associate, identify, and learn about the law a lot better. This is also a platform and an opportunity to raise legal awareness in the community and to support the CLFP. Initiatives such as Richard's book in the CLFP are examples of how individuals and organizations have come together in a very fruitful, productive way, and really lending yourself so that we are far stronger than the sum of our parts. As I conclude, let me leave you with a quote from US Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's the first Jewish woman and the second woman ever to serve on the US Supreme Court. In 2014, she said this, and I quote, "Lawyers have a license to practice law, a monopoly on certain services. But for that privilege and status, lawyers have an obligation to provide legal services to those without the wherewithal to pay, to respond to needs outside themselves, to help repair tears in their communities." And I think in many, many ways, Richard's publication, the Law Society, the CDCs have all come together to help to repair tears in our community. Thank you very much.
我们知道唐部长也为肖律师的新书写了序，好不好？我们现在就请部长跟肖律师一起为这一本书进行新书发布式。那我要大家的一起配合，好不好？我们一起倒数3声，然后他们就会敲起这个响锣。哎，准备好了没有？可以来，一起3、2、1。备忘录的签署，这个法律服务中心是在为民服务、促进法律援助工作的背景下成立的。它的宗旨是为弱势群体提供法律援助，以争取到他们应该有的法律权益。这些合作单位呢，就包括新加坡律师公会无偿服务、新月社科大学法学院、天德圣庙、新加坡正气法律援助基金。那现在，我们请新加坡律师公会无偿服务副主席黄荣华律师致辞。
Thank you. Good afternoon. Minister for Culture, Community and Youth, and Second Minister for Law, Mr. Edwin Tong, Senior Counsel. President of the Singapore University of Social Sciences, Professor Chong Yi Kiat. Patron of RSS Foundation, Ms. Milonia Seah, Managing Director of RS Solomon, LLC and book author, Mr. Richard Xiao, Chairman of the Theatre Temple, Mr. Raymond Wang, distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to spend your Saturday afternoon with us. I know that events are very precious, but this is a worthwhile event. We celebrate the creativity that has produced a useful and practical guide to promote legal awareness for the Chinese-speaking lay person, and also the generosity of the author of this book. I would like to congratulate Mr. Richard Xiao on the launch of your book, 箫遥法外. On behalf of Law Society Pro Bono Services, LSPBS, I would like to thank you, Richard, for donating the proceeds from the sales of your book to the LSPBS Community Law Fellowship Program. Just in case you are not aware, Richard has been a long-standing supporter of our charity. For more than 10 years now, Richard has volunteered with many of our pro bono initiatives to benefit our fellow Singaporeans. He is also currently serving as the Vice Chair of our Law Awareness Committee, which serves to empower lay people with basic legal knowledge. Therefore, Richard, your book could not have been launched at a more opportune time. Now, COVID-19 has taken a toll on our community. Many people are suffering from emotional, mental, psychological burnout, stress from day-to-day living, and making ends meet. This stress will be greatly heightened if one were facing legal challenges as well. Richard's book is aimed at mitigating some of the stress through the raising of legal awareness. 箫遥法外 is a practical and thoughtfully curated collection of 52 short, bite-sized stories, one story for every week of the year. Drawing from his many years of experience as a police officer and a practicing lawyer, Richard is an engaging storyteller. He uses his gift for making complex legal concepts simple and understandable. The conversational style of his writing ensures that the layperson is not overwhelmed, but will have an enjoyable reading experience. Richard has injected generous doses of humor from the title of the book, the chapter headings, illustrations, to the contents. For modern and ancient history buffs, you will not be disappointed. The topics covered in the book are highly relevant, very applicable to the layperson, and it will be a very useful tool in the heartland community. In the legal world, law books tend to be technical, thought to be, boring, dry. So the features of Richard's book are innovative, they are unique. For a book dealing with legal topics, seeking to raise legal awareness. So we hope that the book will be read by many young people. They will be inspired by the book, that they might one day aspire to become lawyers to serve together with us in the Community Law Fellowship Program. But our immediate hope is that the tips, the pointers in the book will be useful for the readers, help to control, avoid legal problems from getting worse. Preventative lawyering can make a big impact on society, and we thank you, Richard, for partnering together with us on so many levels. Now, the publication of 箫遥法外 will help to serve the needs of Mandarin-speaking community, but at the same time, the donations through the sale proceeds of the book to support the work of the Community Law Fellowship Program, CLFP, will help to serve the needs of a much wider community. The CLFP is a pilot program of LSPBS to set up community law centers in the heartlands of Singapore. We intend to have a core of community lawyers who are trained to provide legal assistance to the most vulnerable amongst us. We will work in collaboration with other community-based professionals and partners such as in social services and health services providers. So it is hoped that the community law centers will be able to provide socially excluded persons with unmet legal needs with very easy access to get appropriate support and help. With early information on available sources of help, we believe that these members of our society will stand a much better chance of resolving legal problems and underlying issues in a timely and holistic manner. So we're very heartened that our vision to enable access to justice for the least, the lost, and the last in our community has received tremendous support from our community partners. They are present here with us today to sign a memorandum of understanding for our collaboration. We are especially grateful to RSS Foundation for the generous contribution to the CLF program. RSS Foundation is a foundation established by R. Solomon LLC. The four constituent temples of the Tian De Temple in Hougang, these are my pronunciation may not be so good. Hougang Tri Bui Sing Neo Temple, Tang Tian Gong Temple. They are all working together to provide LSPBS with a suitable space for the first community law center. We are thankful to the Singapore University of Social Sciences for helping us to identify potential volunteers and lawyers for the community law centers. And last but not least, for Richard for donating the proceeds from the sale of your book towards the program and also bringing all these partners together. I'm told that the book sales are doing very well, both outside as well as at Kinokuniya. So I would encourage everyone to support us by buying the book. So in conclusion, on behalf of LSPBS, I thank Minister Tong for honoring us with his presence, Richard for his generosity, unwavering dedication to our cause, as well as each and every one of you who are here with us today, for sharing our vision to enable access to justice for all in Singapore. Together, we will work together to produce many fruits of righteousness for our community. Thank you very much.
现在我们请新加坡正气法律援助基金会主席夏琼女士致辞。
法律围绕着我们每日的生活，但是或许正是因为新加坡那么完善的法律系统，也使人们渐渐开始在生活中淡忘它的重要性。而当我们真正需要法律保护的时候，才会幡然醒悟，发现其重要性。当我第一次来到新加坡这片土地时，抛开文化和实体的区别以外，我也意识到这个国家持久稳定的治理是建立在严峻的法律条例之上的。我很庆幸在遇到法律问题时，能够向我信任的朋友以及顾问寻求帮助，向他们咨询有关法律的全部疑虑。但大多数时候，那些弱势群体并没有这些机会。因此，身为正气法律援助基金的主席，他们正是需要被帮助的对象。肖律师的新书是这些法律援助计划的开端。新加坡的法院以及法律都是以英文谱写的，虽然大部分国人都能用英文沟通，但是依然存在着一大部分只会使用华语的人群。这本书引用了中国民间传说和典故，写法引人入胜，会在这个群体很受用。肖律师通过52个案例，将多方面的法律条规、理念以及常识栩栩如生地体现了出来。我希望读者倘若在日常生活中遇到类似的法律问题时， 脑海中立刻会浮现这些故事所带来的启示。除了以文字普法让更多新加坡人受益之外，我们的基金也会参与邻里社区服务，以促进法律援助工作的普及。唐部长以及新加坡律师工会无偿服务的副主席黄荣华律师，在他们的演讲中已经充分地谈到了邻里法律服务中心，我就不在此画蛇添足了。不过我只想补充一点，对于这个邻里社区服务，我感到非常的欣慰。中心计划的落实名副其实是多方群体团结一致的共同努力。最为振奋人心的是律师工会无偿服务，兴业社科大学以及天德圣庙各尽其独特的力量，促成这个非常有意义的公益工作。最后，感谢大家的莅临和支持，愿你们度过一个愉快的周末。谢谢。
谢谢大家。服务中心得到许多社会团体的善心人士的捐款，印证了天下的好事由天下人来完成这句话。那么现在在部长的见证下，我们请黄荣华律师代表法律协会无偿服务接收几个团体的捐赠。首先有请龙克山七寨庙主席黄文珍先生。我们做一个合照好不好？谢谢黄文珍先生。下一位是文邦大国公主席李建顺先生。李先生已经连续3年支持我们了，非常的感谢他。援助基金会主席夏琼女士，
你要上去。
我们感谢所有慷慨解囊的善长同工，谢谢黄荣华律师，我们也请部长留步。那现在我们请部长为我们颁发感谢礼，谢谢促成邻里法律服务中心成立的团体，以及大力协助这个活动的主办团体。那首先，我们请新加坡律师工会无偿服务副主席黄荣华律师。稍等一下，我讲的有点快。 请王正虎先生。新加坡正信法律援助基金主席夏琼女士。城邦大佛宫庙，城邦大佛宫主席李建顺先生。罗克山七寨庙主席黄文珍先生。亚洲百万富翁富雅有限公司首席执行官陈守义先生。环保科技公司主席杨箫遥女士。新加坡实际执行长刘瑞士先生。新加坡管理学院企业管理文凭毕业生协会会长吴金化 ，PDM。我们介绍以上那些大力协助这个活动的团体。部长辛苦了，好，可是你要再等一下，因为大会也准备了一份小小的感谢礼给部长，我们请肖律师和夏秋女士。我们请两位颁发感谢礼给部长，谢谢部长的光临。我们感谢大家一起见证了肖律师的新书发布，也见证了一个邻里法律服务中心的成立。而这个法律服务中心的援助对象是低收入和经济条件比较差的弱势群体。服务中心的角色不只是咨询法脉，而是全程处理，真正做到为民服务。更令我感动的就是售卖《箫遥法外》这本书的所得，将全数捐给新加坡律师工会的无偿服务，作为支持邻里法律服务中心的专款专用项目的资金。所以我希望大家也能够响应这个善举，立刻行动，支持肖律师的新书，支持邻里法律服务中心，也支持公益。等一下就去买一本。那我们再次感谢部长的莅临参与今天的新书发布会，跟见证邻里法律服务中心的谅解备忘录的签署。很不舍，可是因为部长还有另外一个活动要赶过去，所以我们恭送部长。谢谢部长。 气10分钟。场外准备了矿泉水，请大家10分钟以后准时回到会场，更精彩的节目准备。
在播哪里？另外一个吗？哦，
这现在要停了，停一下，停了吧，停一下吧。